Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Informational Talks with Ask the Expert this evening. Come on in. I am so glad I'm already seeing people here that is waiting and ready for this talk tonight. So if you feel led to do so, please share with your family and friends. We're going to be talking about a topic that really impacts the entire world and especially during this pandemic. We're going to be talking about navigating grief and loss. So if you know of anyone that is going through a loss, anyone that is grieving, they will need to be on this live tonight. And even if they cannot watch this live tonight, have them to come and watch the replay, share it with them because Dr. Day, she's going to be giving us some great tools and techniques to help us through this journey called grieving and loss tonight. So please go ahead and share with your family and friends. Once again, thank you all for coming. Let me know that you guys are here as you are coming on to the broadcast. Thank you so much for joining. So before we get ready to get started, again, I just want to thank you guys for coming on tonight. And as I said, again, our topic tonight is navigating the challenges of grief and loss during the holidays. And for those of you who haven't been on Ask the Expert yet, I will let you know that Ask the Expert was created for professionals to come on and talk and share their knowledge, their gifts, and their expertise in specific industries and expand the knowledge and provide insight to our viewers on specific topics and to help them overcome something, be inspired, or learn something to help them move forward in this journey called life. So before we go ahead and get started, I see, I think that's Mrs. Andrews that is on here. Welcome. Sherry Solomon is on tonight. Ziesta Browning is on tonight. Obar Nesbitt is on tonight. Thank you guys for watching. Margaret Daly is on so far tonight. Thank you guys for coming in. Feel free to share with your family and friends. Thank you so much for coming on. And I love to say in all the talks, go ahead and get your journals and your notebooks out because you're going to want to take notes. Welcome, Deborah, one of my top fans. Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming in. So go ahead and get your journals and notebooks out for those of you who are used to transformational talks because you know you're going to get some golden nuggets tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Ebony, welcome. Thank you for coming on. So again, our special guest tonight is expert licensed clinical psychologist, Dr. Audrey Day. And Dr. Audrey Day and I are actually connected through a church. We actually grew up in the same church together. And I am so honored to say that we actually shared the same stage a couple of years ago during a workshop called Find Your Fortitude. The founder of that is Sister Dawn Love. I don't know if she's watching tonight, but shout out to Find Your Fortitude and helping women as well in her ministry. And we both shared the stage during that time to really talk about stress and give some insight to women on how to move forward in life. So that was an awesome opportunity that we had together. It was just beautiful. So before we get into our topic tonight and have our deep dive, I wanted to give you just a little snippet about Dr. Day. As a licensed clinical psychologist, Dr. Day, she serves people in her career in helping healing and over providing emotional space for reflection, identifying challenges, and supporting change. And she has worked in this industry with children, adolescents, and adults in academia, private and hospital settings for more than 30 years. So she is well experienced and versed to really talk about multiple topics, but she is so gifted in talking about grief and loss. So I am so happy to introduce her. So without further ado, we're going to welcome our expert for tonight, Dr. Audrey Day. So Dr. Audrey Day, you can go ahead and take it away. And before she takes it away, I will let you guys know if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We do have some questions that were sent in before, so we will answer those questions at the end. But if you think of any questions that is on your mind about grief, on how to handle loss, navigating those things, put those in the chat, and we're going to go ahead and address those at the end of this talk. So without further ado, welcome Dr. Audrey Day.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach BJ. It is an honor and it's my pleasure to be here and to be a part of your ministry. I'm honored to be a part of, to have this small part in your ministry of touching the lives of people and helping people to just make their lives better, to find answers, to make change. So thank you. Tonight, as she said, we're going to be talking about grief and loss and how to navigate this during this holiday season, this upcoming holiday season. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay. Just bear with me a moment. Technology. Here we go. Okay, this presentation is called Heartwise, and one of the things that is that has been on my mind, and Coach BJ was talking about, is that right now we're in a time where people are grieving. We're grieving on many levels, and I just want to just share a little bit about that and some of the ways that we can use to address what we're dealing with right now. Okay, so the purpose is to give you some self-help tools and some self-help actions that you can use as we're trying to navigate this particular time. 2020 has been a very challenging year for a lot of us. I would dare say for all of us. And this year has impacted us in many ways. And not only here in the United States, not in, your own home, but globally, people have been impacted. So we're going to talk about some self-help tools to help us get through this time for those of us who've experienced loss, and most of us have experienced loss, dare I say all of us really in some form or another, to help us deal with our new normal. So, as I mentioned before, 2020 has very interesting year. It's almost over. It's been a whirlwind, and it's been so incredibly challenging. From the worldwide pandemic that sort of came on the scene at the beginning of the year that we're still in, there's been sort of an ebb and flow to the political scene, the challenges that we're dealing with right now. It's just been a lot to navigate. So let's just take a pause and put things in context. Where are we? Where are you right now? So I've mentioned some of the changes. A lot of these changes have been, there have been multiple changes. So as again, I said, there's been the pandemic. And with that pandemic have come changes that affect people in terms of economically, not to mention health-wise. I think most of us know people or know someone that knows someone who's been directly affected by this COVID-19 pandemic. So that's been a big change. The sense of our personal sort of, I won't say just freedom, but our ability to move around, our mobility has been severely curtailed and impacted. Just how we relate to each other day to day. Some of us may have lost loved ones or know people that have lost loved ones. So this talk tonight, even if you haven't experienced a death or loss, you may know someone who has been touched by this, who has experienced a loss, and you may be able to share some information with them. Something may be said here that will be useful. So as you can see on the slide, personal losses, family and friendship circles, the communal losses. So I don't know, Coach BJ talked about how we met in church. A lot of people have not been able to go to church, their places of worship, their synagogues, their mosques. They haven't been able to get together, and this has impacted people. It's been a big challenge for people, especially our elders who rely on church as a social network, and people who rely on places of worship just for their own spiritual groundedness. That's been impacted. And we think about ourselves, we think about our lives, but this is affecting nationally. We see people on the news, daily almost, of how their stories of how this pandemic has affected people in terms of just their livelihoods, being able to feed their families, just very basic things, being able to see their families. And globally, not only are we experiencing this, and we're re-experiencing sort of a surge, but places all over the world who, thought that they had this COVID-19 sort of in check have been, it's been revisited. The surge is happening globally. So there are a lot of things that are happening, lots of changes. And all of this is happening right now. We're about to approach the holiday season. So a lot of us now have to rethink how we're going to navigate the holidays, how we're going to do the holidays. So not only are people dealing with loss of a loved one, maybe loss of a job, loss of social circles and social contacts, we're now, that's going to be compounded with going through the holidays. And holidays are, special times, and they can be times of great joy for people, and they can also, even before the pandemic, can be stressful times for various reasons. So holidays, happy or not. So when we think of the holidays, as I mentioned, a lot of we're thinking of festivities. Most of the times there are cultural and religious celebrations, and people are happy. They encourage happiness. You look at social media, you look at advertisements, you look at television, and you see the commercials of the family getting together. We'll see those commercials, even though the reality is going to be somewhat different, and people are going to be confronted with, well, maybe, we used to have 30 people come over for the holidays. We used to do Christmas breakfast or Christmas lunch, or we used to do, different Kwanzaa celebrations, or, different things. And now we're going to have to think about how we're going to do that, or if we're going to do that. But one of the things is that socially, our sort of society says that celebrations and holidays are a time to be happy. But as I mentioned before, even before the pandemic, sometimes holidays were not happy for everyone. Sometimes people felt immense sadness, and because they experienced losses, they were triggered. And what do I mean by triggers? Well, triggers are things that can swing us into an emotional state. That's what I mean by triggers in this sense. And sometimes the triggers can be good. For example, sometimes I hear a song like Donny Hathaway's This Christmas, that will, for a lot of people, bring like really happy memories. It'll make you feel good. It'll trigger happiness. But this holiday season and some other holiday seasons, people get triggered negatively. It brings up negative emotions. They think about things that they've lost, people that they've lost, and it can bring on a sense of sadness and depression for some people. So it's not always going to be a happy time. And this holiday is going to be very special because we're going to have to change. When we're talking about grief and loss, losing a loved one, losing a situation, a position, standard of living, you're talking about change. That's the hallmark word for grief and loss, is that things are no longer as they were. And even though we're, a lot of us will be mustering up not only the courage, but we will feel happy, things are going to be different. And we have to sort of navigate that and negotiate that and sort of prepare ourselves for that. So, okay, so this whole talk is about some tools and tips for people who have lost or who are experiencing a sense of loss. Again, the watchword is change. When we lose people, we lose situations, things are different. Our landscape is different. Everything changes. And how we navigate that change, how we deal with that change, can impact our sense of well-being, our sense of just stability. One of the things I'm encouraging us all to do is to embrace the change. not everything in our world has changed, but a lot has. And it doesn't mean that we have to change everything about everything that we do. But I think that the more open we can be, the more pliable we can be, the more resilient we'll be dealing with and navigating these changes. So what are some of these tips I'm talking about? One of the things is, as we go through this holiday season, if we've experienced loss and we're feeling sad and we're feeling a sense of grief, we have to be aware of our feelings, how we feel emotionally, mentally, and physically. It's important to be able to check in, to be able to honor how you're feeling, and to not sort of flee from that or to feel like you should be feeling something else. If you've had a loss, a lot of times people will say, well, you should be happy because the person has gone to a better place. I want you to just think of the word should. And as we talk about this, let's try to leave that word out of our vocabulary for right now. Should. There are no shoulds in really. People grieve differently. Culturally differently, but one of the things that hopefully we can be that'll be helpful to us is to be aware of how we're feeling and to really be in touch with that. If you're sad, to understand that. If you're feeling happy, and to also know that your feelings can shift rapidly. You can shift from being happy, especially if you're grieving. Grief can happen in cycles. You can be happy one moment, the very next moment you could be sad. Some people describe it as a roller coaster ride. You're up one minute, down the next minute. But being aware is very helpful. Being open to make adjustments and adapt as needed for your own comfort. Now, what do I mean by that? Basically, being able to be flexible enough to honor, if you're feeling happy one moment, sad one moment, and try to go for those things that are going to make you feel good. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Prepare to take action during this holiday season, and anytime we're really experiencing some loss. One of the things I encourage you to do, especially if you have to be around people and you're feeling kind of and maybe not ready, is to take action and make a plan for yourself. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. So how do you, what are some of the tools you can use to become aware? Identify where you are emotionally, mentally, and physically. It's important to be in touch with how you're feeling. It's important to also be in touch with what you're thinking. Sometimes during the grieving process, the thoughts can be very dark and somber. Sometimes some of the manifestations are your thoughts may be racing, your thoughts may be slowed, you may be feeling confused, and all of these things are normal. Just sort of tap in and see where you are and allow yourself to be where you are without feeling like you should be somewhere else. Physically, be able to know how you're feeling, that sometimes maybe you don't need to push, maybe to just allow yourself the luxury of doing nothing, of resting. Sometimes people, when they see someone grieve, they want to keep them busy. They want to say, well, she would be better if she were doing something. Well, maybe she would be, but maybe she wouldn't be. Give people a chance, or give yourself a chance to be where you are without reaching to something else. And if you need to just relax, because sleep and rest and being comfortable is really super important during this time. Trying to build in for yourself as much comfort as you can is really, really important. Okay, adjust and adapt for comfort. And this is what we're talking about. See that cup of hot chocolate there? One of the things, if you're grieving or you know someone that's grieving, one of the ways to help them is to not only have comfort foods, but to be aware of things that they like for comfort. So there are certain people who make us feel good. They just smile. They just have an energy about them that is just comforting. If you're grieving or know someone that's grieving, be around those kinds of people. Conversely, I think we all know people who are less so. who are, trying to tell you what you should do, or they want to be helpful, but maybe they just aren't in the space that, that's sort of feeling in concert with where you are. Find those people who bring you a sense of comfort and make you feel good. Be in those places you feel good. Sometimes that's maybe just being at home with some fuzzy slippers by the fireplace with some chocolate or something, or some comfort food. The comfort food, I just want to add a sidebar: comfort food in moderation, okay, in moderation, and activities that make you feel good. Most of us have things that bring us comfort. When you're grieving and when you're sad, if you have the energy, try to engage in those things, because they'll give you a sense of momentary respite. Here's a big one, the second point. Feel free to say no to other people. So sometimes people want to be helpful, and they want to help us, and they want to come in and get us up and get us moving and shake us out. Sometimes what's best for you is you want to do, and feel free to say no to people. To say, no, I don't want to do that. And I know you mean well, and I know, you're trying to help me, but I'm just not in that space now. It's okay to say that. And you can say to them, you understand, right? You understand that I don't want to do that right now. And it's okay, right? And most people, especially if they love you, they will say, right. Ask for and allow others to help you. Now, here's one. So if there are things you need, and especially if you're grieving, if you need physical things, tangible things, money, food, meals, if you need those things, identify a point person for yourself and let them know what you need, so that they can let other people know what you need. And I've seen this so much in my own church family and in other places, and it's so effective. If you need something, don't suffer in silence. Try to find someone that you trust and tell them what you need. Or if you see someone is needing something, reach out to other people to secure those things, those needful things for them, and be able to accept the help. Especially if you're grieving, and if you're in a place of not being able to take care of everything, allow people to help you. And one of the things is utilize and expand your spiritual practice. Now, by this, I mean not necessarily praying more, though you can do that if it makes you feel better. Not necessarily going to places of worship more, because a lot of places of worship are closed. If yours is open, that's not exactly what I mean. What I'm talking about is going for those things that give you a sense of joy, that give you a sense of solace, that give you a sense of connectedness to yourself and to your creator. Do those things. It might be singing a hymn, it might be going on YouTube, watching a sermon, whatever it is that's going to bring you a sense of solace, even if it's momentary. Sometimes it could be laughter. It might be watching Sanford and Son or I Love Lucy. But if it brings you a momentary sense of peace, that's okay. That's a spiritual practice, laughing. So there's a whole, you Google it, I'm not making it up. There's a whole, there are people who believe laughter is healing, and who believe they've been healed by laughter. And you might say, well, I don't want to laugh, I'm grieving. Well, usually people who are grieving find moments of respite and they laugh. People laugh at funerals. I've seen people sitting from the choir stand looking down the first row, and somebody tells a funny joke, they're laughing. Okay, so there are moments when you can let yourself just have that freedom to just be where you are in different places. Okay, prepare to take action. Now, this is sort of the meat of it for me in my eyes, especially during the holidays. If you're grieving, if you're sad, if you're in one of those 5 stages of grief, there are 5 stages. You can Google them: depression, anger, bargaining, denial, and acceptance. If you're in one of those places, or all of those places, or none of those places, just feeling sad, and the holidays are coming up, I would just advise making a plan for yourself, deciding what you would like to do, how you would like to spend holidays, and let it be okay if you don't want to do anything. And one of the things I recommend is that you have 2 or 3 options for yourself, because what happens is, as the holidays get closer and closer, your moods may change. You may go into mood swings, mood shifts. Your things may be all over the place. You may get triggered, start to feel really sad or whatever. Have 2 or 3 options for yourself. I'll go with this, go to this person's house, or I'll do this for the holidays, I'll do that holidays. But try to have 2 or 3 things for yourself if you can. If you just, excuse me, if you decide you're doing nothing, that's okay too. Have an exit strategy. What do I mean by that? So you can have the best laid plans. You decide, okay, I'm going to go over to my brother's. There are only going to be 5 of us there, and we're going to be social distanced, and we're just going to, be with each other. And the day comes and you're starting to feel okay. You get up, you get ready to go, you walk out the door, you get to your brother's house, and you just break down, start crying. Have an exit strategy for yourself, meaning that you can let people know in advance, hey, this is what I plan to do, but things may change. I plan to come over, but I may not be able to stay. So if you go over there, you may say to yourself, I want to only stay for 15 minutes, and talk over with your host and other people and have them understand. And if you can't do it, maybe have that point person I was talking about, have them do it. Say, she's coming over, but she may not be able to stay but 30 minutes. And no, she's not baking the sweet potato pie this year. Somebody else is doing that. So yes, allow yourself to be wherever you are. Allow yourself to go into your plan, have a plan, and change the plan. Be flexible with yourself. Be generous with yourself. Okay. Tell other people what you want to do and ask them to respect your wishes. So if you decide you want to stay in, that's what you want to do, let your friend and family group know that's what you're planning to do, that you may change your mind, but right now this is what you're planning to do. And they understand that, right? You can say that. You understand that, right? Most people will say, yes, I understand that. Okay. Now, what if you are the person that your family's always done X, Y, or Z for the holidays, and now in COVID, X, Y, and Z has to be modified, and maybe you've had losses too. So it means that the holidays are going to look very, very different. What you can do and decide to do for yourself or with your family or friend group is, if there are meaningful traditions that you want to keep, small thing you want to do, say people decide that the day before, say Christmas, that we're going to share cookies and decorate a tree. You may decide to keep that if that means something to you and you want to do that. Other thing is that people find a lot of times their energy level is different. They're psychologically, mentally, they're different space. So you may want to alter the traditions. You may not want to do that sort of get together. You may decide that, hey, maybe we'll just something sweet on Christmas Day, something, exchange gifts and leave. Alter those traditions if that's what feels right to you. The thing is, do what is going to feel right to you. Don't be afraid to do what's going to make you feel better and good. And actually do that. Do what's going to make you feel better and good, especially if you're in a place of grief and loss. Create new traditions. So that's why I put this pineapple up here. Hopefully it gave somebody a little chuckle. Christmas pineapple, you all knew that, right? No, it's a Kwanzaa pineapple. No, it's a birthday pineapple. It's whatever kind of pineapple you want it to be. Create new traditions for yourself. Sometimes the old traditions are fine, they're good. Sometimes it could be good to start something completely different, add something new, take something away. Be flexible. You can honor your loved one if you've lost someone in a way that feels best for you. Sometimes that means maybe spending a time alone before you see other people, maybe making a memory book. One of the things I recommend for people when I've taught the course that I teach is Pinterest is wonderful. So you're all probably very technologically savvy. Pinterest is wonderful. Go to Pinterest and just Google Christmas traditions, Christmas ideas, holiday ideas if you don't celebrate Christmas, other Hanukkah ideas, Kwanzaa ideas, other holidays that you may celebrate. They have a million and one things. So they're a good resource. Ask the people in your friend group and your family group for their input on they'd like to change or keep the traditions. You can always reach out to other people if you want help or suggestions for how to make these holidays something that you can feel like you can feel better about and to get through. I don't know how I am for time, but I think it's almost that time. I wanted to say that people describe grief in many ways. There are many analogies for grief. They describe it as a road, and I've chosen this as sort of a road. They describe it as, like I said, a roller coaster ride. It comes in waves. It's like the ocean. And if you're experiencing grief, you may identify with one or more of those analogies. I'm just wishing you, I'm hoping that there's something here that you can use on your journey. It is a journey. It's usually not a destination for people. It's something that's ongoing and it changes, just as the landscape we see here is changing. And it's going to be different in a couple of months. It's ever changing. Just kind of know that. And I wish you all the best on this journey as you help yourself and help others. Thank you again for this opportunity, Coach BJ. And now I guess we can go to questions. I'm going to close this presentation.
Hi. Thank you so
I can get back to you.
Dr. Day. It's fine. I said everything good. You're back? Okay, great. Thank you so much for this awesome talk, and the points you gave were just amazing. Like, thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we're going to jump right into questions.
You're welcome.
For the sake of time, let's go ahead and jump right into some of the questions that we received prior to the talk. So let me go to those and I'll put those up. And you guys can hang on because I'm pretty sure these questions are really good. So let's take a look at these questions. Okay. So the first question, Dr. Day, someone sent in was, do parents and children grieve differently? And I would imagine if a sibling or a child, kind of that kind of dynamic. So do parents and children grieve differently?
Yes, I think the gist of this question is also about children versus adults. No matter the relationship, whether they be parents or grandparents, the question of children and adults, the grief. Yes, children and adults grieve differently. So children frequently, their grief doesn't look like sadness. Sometimes their grief can look like sadness. It will depend on the age of the child. So older children tend to grieve more like adults with the sort of what we call affective range of expression, the sadness. But smaller children and younger children, school-age children, may grieve very differently. They may look angry. They may look withdrawn. Not that adults can't look this way, but sometimes children don't necessarily look sad. And another thing, though, is sometimes adults don't look sad either. Sometimes people can be going through the grief process and not look sad, especially in public. So yes. It can look very different. It could look different for different people. It's individual, actually.
Okay, thank you for that. The next question is, how can a person go to work, focus on their job while grieving at the same time?
Okay, so grief is a natural process. If you've had a loss of a job or a loved one, you are more than likely you're gonna grieve. And for a lot of people, their energy level is going to sink. So a lot of times jobs have built-in periods. Sometimes jobs will give you 3 days to a week to just kind of initially start the process. One of the things I recommend is if you have the flexibility to start your day, to flex your time, especially if you're feeling very overwhelmed and tired, to just flex your time. Go in. If you can work remotely, do that. If you have to go in, then realize that your day, give yourself permission to know that your standards, the standards you hold for yourself, will probably not apply. You will probably do things in a way that you're not used to doing them. That your energy level might be lowered. So be kind with yourself. It's a lot to manage. And sometimes people find that if they can take the time, it's helpful to step away or to leave early if you can work that out with your job, that maybe you come in the morning, you leave, flex time, those kinds of things. So it's very difficult sometimes to manage, but it's also individual. Some people throw themselves into work while they're grieving. So it's going to depend on the person. A lot of people get super busy. They are like, oh, they clean the whole house. They clean your house, your mama's house, their house, the aunt's house, everybody's house. Okay, and it helps them, and that's okay. That's not wrong. That's okay.
Awesome. Thank you for that. The next question is there such a thing as grieving for a person and still being angry with them?
Absolutely. 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 The 5 stages of grief are depression. Anger is the second one. Bargaining, denial, and acceptance. Anger. A lot of people are angry at their loved one for various reasons. Angry for them leaving them alone, angry for them leaving them with children to raise, angry that they didn't get a chance to say all the good things and sometimes not so good things that they wanted to say. That's just real. Okay. People can be angry and grieving. Grieving doesn't preclude. In fact, it includes being angry. So you can find yourself moving through being very angry and less angry. So that's a natural part of the process. Not everybody will feel that. You don't have to feel all 5 of those things. So that's also, you need to know that too.
Okay, thank you for that. And then the next question is, I am unsure if a loved one went to heaven and I am deeply saddened. Is saddened another form of grief?
Well, the affective expression of the grief can be sad. To me, this question sort of maybe harkens to sort of a theological question in terms, or sort of a spiritual and religious question. But yes, grieving can look like sadness. It can be. So this question, I would say, that you might get more clarification if you talk to a theologian or your clergy, to sort of give you some insight on what your thinking is about why you think maybe they went to heaven or not. They may be able to shed some light on what that actually means. To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. That's from the Christian doctrine. So they may be able to shed some light on that and give some kind of, but yeah, sadness can definitely be a part of grief, and wondering why, if where people went, what kind of life they led. Yeah, it's part of it too. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I think that was the last question that was sent in advance. I'm going to go back and check the comments. Does anyone have any questions or even comments about this talk tonight? This is really great. I'm just so thankful you accepted, coming on here and again, sharing your gift, your knowledge with everyone. And I'll go ahead and give you guys another minute or so to think about your questions. I will let you know as you think about the questions, if any, to not miss the next transformational talk. The next one is actually going to be on, if I can get rid of some of these other ones. I got everything going right now. But if, there we go. Okay. So the next transformation talk is going to be on December 3rd at 7. And the topic is going to be coming out of a crisis. So to never worry about a crisis again. And I will tell you, when I learned of this information, I could not wait. I'm telling you, even God shifted me. And what I was going to actually talk about on December 3rd, God was like, no, this is what you need to talk about and share with your viewers. Coming out of a crisis, never worry about a crisis again. So that's what I will be talking about on the next Transformational Talks with me on December the 3rd. So mark your calendars. As you know, I will be sending out the invites, letting you know when it's going to be to remind you. I will be sending out also this week the remainder of the talks for this year and what's going to be new for 2021. So I definitely want to thank you guys for watching. I'm going to go ahead and check the comments again and see if there's anything. Just pretty much the thank yous, Dr. Day there saying, and this is very informative, healing, such a blessing. Are some of the comments that people are saying in there. So I just appreciate you guys coming on and taking out your Thursday evening to spend with us and learn something new. And as always, I want to thank you guys for watching. And always don't forget to share and subscribe to I'm Coach BJ on all social media platforms. It is at The Source of Hope 1 on Facebook. So I will check the comments one more time to see if there's any other questions. If not, I will let you go. Ebony said this was great. I thank you guys for joining. I appreciate you guys so much. So if there's not any more questions, again, thank you for watching. For those who watch the replay, thank you so much. Put replay in there. If you guys have any comments or question or need any support after this talk, feel free to put that in the comments and we will definitely connect back with you and answer any questions you may think of even after this talk. We'll definitely get back with you with any of those as well. So again, thank you for watching. You guys have a good night. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.